Hi, on this video I'm going to show you how to buy a business in the UK. Hi, I'm Jonathan J, and on this video I'm going to show you and explain to you how to buy a business in the UK. So let me describe to you how to buy a business here in the UK. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the process so that you'll see what happens first, what happens second, what happens third, so you can see if you're currently buying a business, where you are in the process, or if you're right at the start, what to expect and what to expect next, and so forth. So the first and rather important part of buying a business is you've got to find the right business to buy. So finding the right business to buy depends upon the strategy as to why you are looking at buying a business in the first place. So let me give you some examples of what my clients do and the way they think about buying a business. So they might have an existing business which they want to grow via acquisition, so they buy another very similar business and then put the two businesses together. So that is a business acquisition strategy. Another strategy might be to do the same thing but to do it multiple times in order to get your business of a certain size which you can then sell, because it's a lot easier to sell a larger business for more money than it is a smaller business. So that's another acquisition strategy. We call that the buy and build strategy. Another approach might be to buy part of your supply chain. Another approach might be to buy part of your distribution chain. So whatever your strategy, that is going to determine the type of business that you're going to be looking for. Now, the next step is to find the business that fits in with your strategy. So the obvious place to look is online, and you'll find hundreds of business brokers with thousands, if not tens of thousands of businesses for sale. Now, the challenge with this is that they are now in a very competitive marketplace. You aren't the only person looking at that business, and I never like being in a situation where I could be held to ransom or I could be forced to up my price because someone else is interested. So I have a very different approach to deal sourcing. I do not look for businesses that are for sale. I look for business owners who want to sell. And there is a big difference. The difference between businesses that are for sale, so they're advertised on the internet, a lot of people looking at them, and business owners who want to sell. So I get to the business owner before they advertise their business with a broker or put it onto a website. It means that I don't have any competition. It means that I can get in there first, and if I can put together a deal that the owner likes, then I become the buyer. So how do we find these business owners who want to sell but haven't yet put their business up for sale? Well, there are many ways of doing this, and I teach a variety of online and offline methods. One of the fastest ways of finding that business is through your existing network, simply because it's a lot easier if there is a personal introduction to that business owner. It's not right for everyone, and I can certainly say that it's not necessarily the best method if you want to buy several businesses. One, perhaps several, possibly not. So let's say we've now found the business that we want to buy. We need to have a conversation with the business owner, and we actually have a rule of three. The rule of three says that we have 3 meetings. The first meeting is on the phone, and this typically is no more than 30-35 minutes. The second meeting, which follows a week or so after, is at your premises or perhaps a hotel reception area that is in your town. So the seller of the business comes to you. That's the second meeting. That meeting typically takes about 90 minutes. And then the third meeting typically is at their office or a location close to them, because you want to have a look for yourself as to what is for sale. And that meeting typically takes 2 hours. Now, at the end of that meeting, we want to reach what we call heads of terms. Heads of terms is the pre-contract to the main contract that's going to come several months later. So this heads of terms outlines the deal. It outlines the price that you're paying, it outlines terms, and there are 4 elements of a heads of terms that are legally binding. The legally binding aspects are confidentiality, exclusivity, so it gives you exclusivity. Typically it's a UK contract, and also each side pay their own costs. Now, here's something rather important to remember. When the seller of the business has signed heads of terms, that now gives you an exclusivity period, which is typically 2, 3, or 4 months. The way I always do it is that I make sure that the exclusivity period goes all the way up to the target date for completion and then can be extended afterwards. What this means is that once they sign those heads of terms, they can't talk to anyone else about selling the business. And that's a very powerful position to put yourself in. So let's just go back to the 3 meetings. The first is on the phone for you to decide whether this business fits your criteria. The second meeting is at your premises to go through the financials and to establish the outcome that the seller wants. And then that third meeting is to go into more detail and to reach heads of terms. So the 3 meetings. Now we're at heads of terms. What happens next? Well, we've now got a period where 2 things happen side by side, in conjunction with each other. We've got your solicitor drafting the sale and purchase agreement or the asset purchase agreement, depending on how you're buying, whether you're buying shares or buying assets. The buyer's solicitor always drafts, so that means the ball is in your court. Now, at the same time as that's happening, you're undertaking due diligence, and I've created another video you'll find on this channel about due diligence. Due diligence into the business that you are buying. Either you do this yourself. If it's a very simple business, you might just want to do it yourself. However, I would always recommend that you hire someone else to do this for you. So I outsource all my legal work, I outsource my accountancy and due diligence work, because my role as the deal maker is to go and find the businesses to buy, not to look through the accounts. So the due diligence runs in tandem with the sale and purchase agreement. Now, here's the thing. The terms that were agreed in the heads of terms are likely to change during that period of due diligence, simply because the due diligence is going to show up all the flaws in the business that the owner of the business didn't tell you about, because don't forget that they were selling you the business. And when you're selling something, you put your best foot forward and you don't focus on the negatives, do you? So what has happened here is all the negatives have been hidden, the due diligence shines a spotlight on them, and now, of course, you're able to go back and, if necessary, renegotiate price and renegotiate the terms upon which you pay that price. Now, we're doing this over typically a 12-week period. We're aiming for the finish line, the target date upon which we complete. And these days, it's really not so common for people to sit around a table signing everything together and then shake hands across the table and pop the champagne. Typically what happens these days is a virtual completion, a little bit like when you buy a house. Your solicitor phones you and says, "We've completed and you now own the house." In this case, you now own the business. So how long does the whole process take end to end? Well, it could take any amount of time, depending on how good you are at the process and how much you know about the process. What I always say is that someone who doesn't know the process, who uses trial and error, might take 100, 120 hours to buy a business, where someone who does know the process, who does understand the process, would typically only take 20 to 30 hours. So a considerable time saving if you understand how the process works. So that's how you buy a business in the UK. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and click here to watch more videos about buying a business.